In March 1946, Winston Churchill went to Missouri, of all places, and announced that an Iron Curtain had descended across Europe. Everyone acted shocked, which is adorable. It's like being surprised that the guy who has been nailing boards over all the windows for a year doesn't want any visitors. He specifically named the line from Stettin in the Baltic to Trieste in the Adriatic, which was the geopolitical equivalent of drawing a line in the sand with a stick and telling half of Europe, "You can't play with us anymore." The Soviets naturally called this warmongering. This is a classic political maneuver. When someone accurately describes what you are doing, accuse them of starting a fight. It wasn't a new idea, though. The term Iron Curtain was first used by a German minister named Lutz Graf Schwerin von Krosigk a year earlier to describe what would happen if the Soviets won. So, really, Churchill was just recycling a perfectly good and terrifyingly accurate metaphor. This wasn't a single, monolithic structure that appeared overnight. The Iron Curtain began as a patchwork of watchtowers, barbed wire fences, and guards who were really serious about their jobs. In the German countryside, they plowed a 5-kilometer-wide death strip. Think of it as the opposite of a welcome mat. They called the Berlin Wall, the most famous part of this whole enterprise, the anti-fascist protection rampart. This is a masterclass in branding. It wasn't to keep people in, you see. It was to protect their socialist paradise from the corrupting influence of rock and roll and affordable bananas. The logic was impeccable if you didn't think about it for more than 3 seconds. The first version was literally just barbed wire rolled out in the middle of the night. A truly pathetic start for what would become one of history's most infamous pieces of architecture.
Before the anti-fascist protection rampart got its big promotion to solid concrete, there was a problem. A big one. It's called Republikflucht, or Flight from the Republic. Between 1949 and 1961, about 2.5 million East Germans decided they preferred the other Germany, the one with options. This wasn't just anyone, it was the doctors, the engineers, the teachers, the intellectuals. An entire nation's worth of brain power was walking across a street in Berlin and not coming back. East Germany was losing about 20% of its population, which is not a sustainable business model for a country. The Soviet response wasn't self-reflection. It wasn't, maybe our system has some flaws. No, it was, we must build a better cage. The goal was to stop the bleeding, even if it meant amputating the patient's freedom.
So came Operation Rose. It sounds lovely, doesn't it? It wasn't. On the night of August 12, 1961, while Berliners slept, thousands of East German troops and police swarmed the border. By morning, they had sealed off 156 kilometers around West Berlin, initially with little more than barbed wire and angry men with guns. Streets were torn up. Train lines were severed. A man could have gone to bed in East Berlin and woken up to find the building across the street was now in another country. Families were split mid-conversation. Children playing in a park on one side were suddenly cut off from their homes on the other. The sheer brutal efficiency of it is something to behold. They trapped 2.5 million West Berliners inside their sector and locked 17 million East Germans in their own country, all in one night. It was the world's most aggressive, "we need to talk" message. The initial barbed wire was, of course, just a prototype. The final product was a masterpiece of dystopian engineering. By the 1980s, the wall was actually 2 walls. Between them lay the death strip. This little slice of hell included 302 watchtowers of the delightful BT-9 model, each with a clear line of fire. It had anti-vehicle trenches, beds of nails nicknamed Stalin's carpet, and, for a while, tripwire-activated machine guns, the SM-70, which fired a spray of metal cubes at anyone who touched them. You have to admire the methodical evil. This wasn't just a barrier, it was a complex, multi-layered killing machine designed with all the detached precision of an IKEA instruction manual. Every element was meticulously planned to make escape not just difficult, but suicidally dangerous. Life on either side became a bizarre social experiment. West Berlin was this weird island of glittering, subsidized capitalism deep inside the communist bloc. It was a chaotic, vibrant, punk rock bubble funded by West Germany to be as annoyingly successful as possible. East Berlin, meanwhile, was the showpiece of communism, which meant gray buildings, long lines for basic goods, and the constant, friendly presence of the Stasi. The Ministry for State Security employed 91,000 full-time staff and had up to 189,000 unofficial informants. That's one spy for every 63 citizens. At that ratio, you're not just watching the population, you're basically the national hobby. Your friendly neighbor, your chatty postman, your own spouse, anyone could be filing a report on your suspicious love for Western jazz music. It was a level of paranoia elevated to an art form. When you build a cage, you inspire some very creative cage breakers. The escape attempts from East Germany are a testament to human ingenuity. Over 5,000 people successfully escaped. People built tunnels, like Tunnel 57, which was 145 meters long and freed 57 people. Two families, the Strelzics and the Wetzels, built a functioning hot air balloon out of bed sheets and escaped in 1979. Let me repeat that. They sewed a hot air balloon in secret. One guy, Heinz Meixner, just rented a convertible, took the windshield off, and drove it right under the checkpoint barrier. Another converted an Isetta bubble car, hiding a person in a tiny space next to the engine. For every story of success, there were countless tragic failures, but the sheer creativity is staggering. It proves that the most powerful force in the universe isn't a state apparatus. It's someone who really wants to be somewhere else. Behind the wall, the Eastern Bloc was running on the magic of the 5-year plan. This is where a central committee decides exactly how many left shoes the country will need in 4 years. The results were predictably hilarious if you weren't living there. Massive factories churned out tractors nobody needed, while citizens waited a decade for a Trabant. The Trabant, by the way, was a car made of Duroplast, a hard plastic made from cotton waste. It had a 2-stroke engine and took about 18 seconds to get to 60 kilometers per hour. It was less a car and more a political statement about the virtues of patience. This systemic inefficiency created thriving black markets for everything from blue jeans to spare parts. The state could plan production, but it couldn't plan desire. And people desired things that didn't smoke, rattle, and take a decade to acquire. The end didn't come with a bang, but with a bureaucratic blunder. The dominoes started falling in the summer of 1989, when Hungary, bless its goulash-loving heart, opened its border with Austria. This created a hole in the Iron Curtain that East Germans started pouring through. The pressure was building. Then, on November 9, 1989, a mid-level party official named Günter Schabowski held a press conference. It was boring. boring. Right at the end, a reporter asked when new relaxed travel laws would take effect. Shabovsky, who hadn't been fully briefed, shuffled his papers and mumbled, "As far as I know, effective immediately, without delay." He had no idea what he'd just done. Crowds swarmed the checkpoints. The guards, who had no new orders, were confused. Faced with thousands of expectant citizens, they just opened the gates. The wall fell not because of a grand battle, but because of a badly prepared middle manager. It's the most German ending imaginable.
Tearing down a wall is the easy part. The party was epic, no doubt. People chipping away at the concrete with hammers and chisels became the defining image of freedom. But then came the hangover. Reunification has cost Germany an estimated 2 trillion euros. That's a lot of money to fix 40 years of terrible economic policy. And then there's the Mauer im Kopf, the wall in the head. Stereotypes persist. Western Germans see Easterners as lazy. Easterners see Westerners as arrogant. The legacy of Stasi surveillance created a deep-seated mistrust of authority that doesn't just vanish. The Iron Curtain may be gone from the map, but its shadow is long. It stands as a ridiculously expensive 45-year-long monument to the fact that if you have to build a wall to keep your people in, you haven't built a country, you've built a prison. And people have always been remarkably good at breaking out of those. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe to our channel for more historical insights. Thanks for watching, nerds!